Hey, sugar bear.
No!
Welcome to Never Solved, an investigative podcast that digs deep into the bowels of crime to get to the bare bones of murder. I'm your host, Todd Barnett, and with me in the studio today is James Poorley.
Hello. You can subscribe to our podcast for weekly updates on all types of murder.
Now, every so often we come across a case that is so brutal, so depraved, that it sends a shiver down the back of my legs. And today's case is one of those times. The case of Jacob Hendon, the child Vanisher.
Our story begins on a sopping damp Tuesday back in 2004 in a town called Stone Rock. Now, Stone Rock isn't special. It's a typical town in the deep south. But on that day, Stone Rock was to be changed forever.
Well, I come down to my shed to get the cutter blades for killing the grass,
This is Bo Gibbons, a local grass cutter.
and I seen that the grass had already been killed on account of it laying all about the floor in little bitty pieces. So I says to myself, now who in Sam Hill has been killing Bo Gibbons' grass?
The mystery of the cut grass would not stump Bo for long.
Come to find out, the next day there was a new killer in town. Well, I said I'd better go have me a little talk with this fella, tell him he's moved in on my turf.
Bo found the man in question, a man by the name of Tim Curry. Tim was a drifter, moving from town to town, working the land. But it was the unlikely pairing these two men would make that would help bring the case of the child Vanisher to light. Or would it? I interviewed Bo down in Pebble Rock. So you met Tim in a local bar.
That's right. We got good and liquored up. Then we got to talking about the grass, and how it was all just a big misunderstanding. Well, after about 10 or 11 whiskeys, we gone on like a house aflame.
So that's when you decided to go and see the grass. Is that right?
We was drunk as hell by then, decided to go killing. So I took him down to one of my patches on 2nd Street.
Bo and Tim went down to a verge near the bar and discovered a suspect stain on the grass. Something Bo would later describe as wet.
It was wet, you see. The grass, which was strange, 'cause it was the middle of the dry season. There shouldn't have been a goddamn drop of dew on that thing. I said to Tim, that grass ain't got no business being anything but bone dry. But there it was, wet.
What Bo and Tim had stumbled on was the very first clue in a case that would slowly snake its way out of the undergrowth. The case of Boulder Rock's vanished children.
When them two men found the blood on the grass, we knew something had happened.
This is Chief Pendergrass, the man who would head the investigation.
We took them fellas in to question them, 'cause they had blades with them, and were at the scene of a vanishing. The child had been reported missing, the 4th in 2 months. Now the two men, they came up clean. But I said I bet you a dime a dollar that we got ourselves a serial pederast on our hands right here.
Nobody disagreed with the chief, and DNA testing came back for 10-year-old Billy Bob Booker, a boy from a local family.
Well, that was when we started taking things more seriously. I mean, if it had been a grown-up's blood, we could have just thrown it on a pile of other grown-up murders we got left to solve. But a kid? Now that's something we got to prioritize.
And prioritize they did. The Shale Rock police rounded up all the usual and unusual suspects.
They always pick on me 'cause I ain't got no teeth.
Bunty Baggins works for the local barbers. He has priors for arson, armed robbery, and prostitute abuse, but now insists he only cuts hair.
They ain't got shit on me. I cut hair. I don't know nothing about damn missing youngins.
Pendergrass agreed, and Bunty, along with all the other suspects and roughnecks, was questioned and released.
Well, you see, we were at a real crossroads. All our leads had gone cold, and we didn't have nothing to go on.
And that was when the body was discovered.
Well, he was found in the woods. I won't go into the particulars. Let's just say he was butt naked and stiff as a stick of pine. Stiff as in dead, I mean.
The discovery of an actual body changed everything. The police got the funding and the manpower to expand the case. So they looked again at the grass cutters, Bo and Tim.
We knew it wasn't no Bo Gibbons. He's been killing the whole town's grass for years, mine included. But this Tim character, nobody knew this guy. A drifter, just passing through. He fit perfectly. Then we found out he had previous for rape.
Tim Curry was brought in for questioning, but he immediately lawyered up.
We couldn't get nothing out of this son of a bitch. That's when I knew it was him. I looked into them cold, dead eyes and I saw a killer. Cold-blooded, dyed-in-the-wool, pederast.
But with no evidence, the chief had to let Tim go, and he subsequently vanished, leaving town. But just when the chief thought the case was dead, another body was found.
You are listening to Never Solved, a show about brutal cases that are never solved and have no hope of ever being solved.
Came to be we found a new clue. Next to the second body was a note that read, "Tim Curry killed me," which was immediately suspect for two reasons. One, rarely does a murder victim have access to a pen and paper during the murder, unless it's in the study or a library. And two, rarely does the victim have time to write a message in neat handwriting. And the theory that this may not be a genuine note was also given credit by the fact that the 8-year-old victim also apparently done a full artist's rendering of Mr. Curry. It was pretty good, too.
So do you think he was being set up?
Yeah, this is my humble opinion, yes. I had to admit that just because he raped someone doesn't mean he killed a kid, you know? Two completely different crimes. I mean, where would our justice system be if we went around accusing regular old rapists of being child killers?
Chief Pendergrass and I talked for hours about the case, the ins, the outs, where the subsequent bodies were found, 10 in all, and about that note. But none of it got the police any closer to a suspect. That is, until a cold day in late November.
The last clue we got was probably the most confusing. We found a leg in the freezer of a local crab shack.
A child's leg?
Child, or a midget. But since it was kids going missing, I'd be surprised if it was a midget's leg. They are quite rare, you know, compared to children.
Could it have been a child midget?
Could have been, but then that would still be a child now, wouldn't it? So it don't seem to make no never mind to me.
You have a point. So, you found the leg?
In the freezer, yeah, next to the lobsters. Shouldn't have been frozen, really.
The leg?
The lobsters, they're best served fresh. Anyway, the leg ended up closing the business down, but before it did, we interrogated the owner, the waitresses, and the head chef. Someone has got to know how that leg got in there.
And did they?
They all took the fifth, scared of losing their restaurant and their jobs. But we found something on the leg's itty-bitty toe that helped us. A small inscription written in blue ink that read, "Tim Curry killed me."
Tim Curry? Again?
But like the other note, we dismissed that.
Why?
On account of two facts. The first, that victims, especially children, never think to write on their bodies who is killing them. And the second, Victims rarely, if ever, write anything at all. The murderer usually has their undivided attention.
You have a point. So how did Jacob Hendon's name come into this investigation?
Jacob who?
Jacob Hendon? You know, the child Vanisher?
Huh. Never heard of him.
Ten children were vanished from Stone Rock in all. The last going missing just 2 years ago. No one has ever been charged, and nobody is any closer to finding out who the killer is. But police are pretty sure of one thing. It's definitely not Tim Curry. How do they know this? Chief Pendergrass says it's on account of 2 things. 1, that there's absolutely no evidence. And 2, Tim Curry died 10 years ago. This has been Never Solved. We hope you've enjoyed not finding out who killed the Little Rock children as much as we have. I've been Todd Barnett, he's been James Poorley, and this has been Never Solved. See you next week.